Shalom.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, little sister.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, shalom. So in Shemot chapter 15, which we studied yesterday, we saw the song that Israel sang along with Moshe and Miriam after they crossed the Red Sea. And it was a song of celebration, celebrating the downfall of Pharaoh's army, mighty army. Now we're going to look at Shemot chapter 16, and that's about 45 days later, on the 15th day of the second month. They have some challenges as usual. The bread running out, people getting hungry, and the Creator teaching them to trust through daily provision. So we're about to look through these sections where the bread run out on the children of Israel. They gathered and were tested. Their obedience was tested. We'll see where the manna appears and the quail, and they get some taste of something heavenly. And we're going to look on the sixth day emphasis and the rest that was mentioned. And we'll also look at their experience and how the manna was able to preserve them over the 40 years. So we're going to read from verses 1 through to 3. And it says, Shalom, my sister, just joining. And they set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second new moon, after their going out of the land of Mitzrayim. And all the congregation of the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, if only we had died by the hand of the Creator in the land of Mitzrayim, when we sat by the pots of meat and when we ate bread to satisfaction. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to put all this assembly to death with hunger. So before we know, after the song of celebration, then there's time of grumbling and time of discomfort, and it's just a natural part of life. Right? But just look at the date that's mentioned at the beginning of this chapter. The 15th day of the second month. And this is very important to note, because later we're going to see additions to this date, and we want to identify if it's a continuation or it's mentioned in isolation. The whole congregation of Israel came to Sin. It's otherwise called Sinai. It's more known as Sinai, right? And if it's on the 15th day of the second new moon, remember they left on the 15th day of the first new moon. So that's 30 days since, right? Well, 31 days, because it's on the 15th day of the second new moon. And the situation, what's the situation? The bread they brought from Israel run out. And when I am traveling with my sister to the country, when I'm in Jamaica, we stop to get food, so that when we go to anywhere isolated or not with industry, then we'll have food to eat. So I'm not sure if it's a case where Moshe didn't plan the trip properly, but 30 days food ran out. This is nothing new, right? For the congregation of Israel to grumble. Always grumbling against Moshe and Aharon. And I'm just thinking that next verse I'm going to read is going to be something about Moshe crying, because he's always crying too whenever they complain. But let's look more at their complaint. If only we had died by the hand of of the Creator in the land of Mitzrayim. When we sat, so in other words, they're saying wishing death because of hunger. I think that's a little extreme. The bread is finished, right? And it seems as if hunger is worse than slavery. Right? Look better than the wilderness situation. The slavery looks better than the wilderness situation, which I can't fathom. Right? But I know that, you know, the Creator, he sustains his people. He doesn't just deliver and redeems them. Right? He sustains them. Is there anything different about this grumbling compared to the previous complaints? For us looking at it, is there anything different about this grumbling compared to the other grumbling that they had before? Is there any...
Well, this one is specific that they ate full. It's about food.
Food. Well, that's the staff of life we're talking about, you know. We are talking
The
about...
others were, they never complained about food, did they?
I think yesterday, was it water that they wanted? They were thirsty in no time.
Oh.
Right. So if they were thirsty, it means that this will be long before they're hungry. And I think I said to my brother yesterday, when you're going out and you take somebody out on a date or anything like that, always be prepared to buy food, buy juice, something to drink, and something to eat. That is basic, right? So there we have the situation again.
What is flesh pots?
Go again?
Flesh pots. When they sat by the flesh pots.
That's what verse. That's verse.
The same verse
3. Flesh pots.
When they were grumbling, would to God we had died by the hand of the Creator in the land of Egypt. When we sat by the flesh pots, is that what your translation says?
When we sat by the pots of meat, right? That's what my translation says. So in other words, they used to get some bulk feeding as slaves, meat, right? Just thinking that, you know, they the food having run out that they left Mizraim with, right? They should be maybe full still at this moment, but I don't think they even waited a day nor how after the last food was ate before they start reminisce on the flesh pot that they got as slaves. Physical hunger is a serious thing. When you're really hungry, they feel like they could actually choose slavery over it just to get some food. Almost wanting to romanticize it. Right? But
nobody can tell me that these people aren't colored people.
They're
only colored people.
They're shallow, long belly, for want of a better word, you know, for just wanting food, just like that. Just thinking food, and nothing else. What we're gonna read on, right? Because they are learning how to daily depend on the Creator, you know. He will give them the food today, and He will give them the food tomorrow, but He is first building their trust, not on self-reliance. So it's a very opportune time for them to learn a lesson. Right? So we're going to read from verses 4 through to 12. And the Creator said to Moshe, "See, I'm raining bread from the heavens for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day in order to try them, whether they walk in my Torah or not. And it shall be on the 6th day they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." And Moshe and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, "At evening you shall know that the Creator has brought you out of the land of Mizraim. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of the Creator, for He hears your grumblings against the Creator. And what are we that you grumble against us?" And Moshe said, "In that the Creator gives you meat in the evening, and in the morning bread to satisfaction, for the Creator hears your grumblings which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against the Creator. And Moshe said to Aharon, say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Creator, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came to be, as Aharon spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and see, the esteem of the Creator appeared in the cloud. And the Creator spoke to Moshe, saying, I have heard the grumblings of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, between the evenings you are to eat meat, and in the morning you are to be satisfied with bread. And you shall know that I am the Creator, your Elohim. Right, so we're seeing here that provision is, they seem to get an instant reply and an instant provision. But first we're seeing it, like it's just a simple instruction, and that's why I find the Torah very easy to digest, because it's not hard at all to interpret. But when we look at it, the Creator said to Moshe, behold, I am about to rain bread from heaven. The people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my Torah or not. And every time we have this discussion or the thought about the validity of Torah, I'm always wondering this question: will we walk in Torah or not? It's always going to come to a decision that we're going to have to make personally. Will we come to finally decide to follow Torah? The question, another thing that I noticed is that there's a mention of the sixth day, and it shall be on the sixth day that they shall prepare what they bring in. And I really want to get this matter real quickly. Is the sixth day a continuation on verse 1? And if it does not relate to sixth day from verse 1, right, why is it mentioned?
I'm glad you raised that, because initially I thought it was a continuation from verse 1. And in terms of the new moon, day 15, you'd count, it justified doing Sabbath the way that I did it. But it doesn't say that it is a continuation. It's not clear from the script that it's continuing. It said the sixth day.
Okay. And if it's not a continuation, which of these verses actually suggest that it's not a continuation? And why would verse 1 be dated if it was not related to it?
Which one would suggest that it's not a continuation? That's the question?
Yes, that's the question, my sister. Because it could be the sixth day of unleavened bread, It could also be the sixth day of the month. But here, would it really reconcile if somebody's talking about the 15th day of the month, and in no time the conversation switches to 6 days before it, or the maybe 15 days later or 21 days later, right? Without and there's no explanation of gap.
21 of the month.
Right. Right. So it could be 6 if it is in fact referring to the 7th day Shabbat, then it would be 15 plus 15 make it the 30th of the month, and then 6 days later, the 6 days of the following month, the third month. So for us to take this as a 7th day Shabbat, then we're actually saying that the conversation skipped 21 days later, or it reversed to the start of the month to bring some context in. It's either one extreme to the other. It's either going to stretch back to the first of the month, or it's going to go move forward 21 days to teach us the principle of Shabbat. And I'm saying, even if we were to say accept or imagine that it is talking about the 7th day Shabbat, right? Which of these relate to the deliverance from from Mitzrayim? Is it the Feast of Unleavened Bread or is it the 7-day Shabbat? Because context counts.
The unleavened bread.
That's right, because in verse 3 it tells you, for you have brought us out into the wilderness and put this assembly to death with hunger. Right? So basically it's speaking about, it says, well, no, it's not that. It's actually the verse 1 that tells you the 15th day of the month. Right? So the question is the 6th day of the week preparing for Shabbat, or it's a continuation? So let's read some more while we hold on to that, because we don't want to stick to our
But the
presumptions.
question you asked, the question what you had asked me, if what verse tells us whether it's a continuation or not.
What verse tells you that there's a continuation or a switch?
Whether it's yes, correct.
Right. So I want it to be open, right? All right. So we will read on, and I was saying earlier that having seen the sentence about the children grumbling and complaining, I was forecasting that the next verse is going to be about something about Moshe crying. But guess what? Moshe seemed to be getting used to the situation, because I didn't see anything where I'm saying where it says he cried to the Creator, and that's what I was expecting. So he's learning. So his response, Moshe's response, if we look at verse 6, matter of fact, Moshe and Aharon, it is one of humility. He actually just said what he had to, took what they had to say to the Creator, and he said to the children, "At evening you shall know that the Creator has brought you out of the land of Mizraim." So he's developing in his leadership role. Thank goodness he didn't cry. And he also said that, look, it is not myself and Aharon actually brought you out of Mizraim. It is the Creator, as in verse 6, has brought you out of the land of Mizraim. So in other words, he's directing, so look, I never bring you here, so don't tell me that I brought you here to die or whatever, because I never did this. This is a greater work being done. And so he gives credit where credit is due, and it was the Creator's work, not Moshe's work. Right. We're going to see something about manna, and I'd want to consider what is the relationship between manna and coming out of Mizraim, because that's what we've been talking about, coming out of Mizraim. How manna really relates to this. Right. Maybe as we read down, we could see. Verse 7 says, "What are we that you grumble against us?" He hears, right? So in other words, he's saying, look, when you grumble, and a point that I'd made earlier is that when Mizraim, people of Pharaoh and Mizraim, people of Mizraim persecute Israel, when they're fighting against Israel, they're not really fighting against Israel, they're fighting against the Creator. So I'm saying now, when these people grumble against Aharon and Moshe, they're not really grumbling against Aharon and Moshe. They're actually grumbling against the Creator. Right? Just trust that we're following on this. And if they're asking for meat, did they leave Mitzrayim with lots of animals? What you're going to find is you have some people, once it's something has to do with holy service or group communal thing, they don't want to use their personal resources and assets, right? Because they probably have the animal there and say, look, I'm not going to, maybe the tribe of Reuben say, look, I'm not going to use off my herd to feed this tribe, my tribe, myself, or these other 11 tribes. Is the Creator that brought us out, or is Moshe and Aaron that brought us out? So he's the one to feed us. You have people like that, hungry, and they would not use up their resources to fill their need because they are part of a group situation. I don't know what to describe those persons really, because it doesn't make sense. But unless I'm to assume that, within 30 days or 31 days, they kill off all their animals and ate off all their meat. Because my idea is that they were just living off matzah, unleavened bread for the 30 days. But this is where assumptions come in. Did they eat off all their meat, or they didn't want to use there, they wanted what the Creator provided? Um, when I say these things, sometimes I'm teased. Man shall not live by bread alone. Don't tease me, please. um, don't mock me for my background and way of communicating. Man shall not live by bread alone. They may have had bread all along, but right now they need more than bread. They need meat. And I know we have expressed our concern about, the translations that um, include meat when against the background of where the creation said that the fruits and the seeds shall be your bread and meat. So that is something that we really have to look at. When was the meat to come? They mention, in the evening you get bread. No, you get meat in the evening and bread. Any is this the right way to eat though, my sister? Is it that you eat the carbs, the low carbs in the morning and the high cholesterol in the evening?
No.
So how it's set up?
You should
How
eat
is it
the
set like this?
lightest meal.
In verse 8.
Repeat the question.
Why is it said like this? You get in verse 8 that they get the bread in the morning, the low carb bread in the morning, and low cholesterol meat in the evening. As far as I know, the
Yeah.
meat going to take a while to wash, to drain, to clean, the blood to drain out, to cook, and by the time that done cook is night. That's the little I know about cooking. So why is it set like this? Is it something we should copy? Is this the healthy way of dealing with food? Eat the bread in the day and the meat in the night? Or we combine both of them midday? Or we call meat mango, coconut,
Exactly.
and
Unless
and,
meat is a
and
fruit.
pear, and then eat that in the night? I just want to have the
Don't know.
right dietary practice going on for me. I want to use the Torah as my guide, and if and I'm hoping this is
Right here, you can see that meat and flesh are two different things. There is a
right.
distinction because he's not repeating himself. Meat and flesh.
Two different things.
Bread is meat, and that meat is fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, that is
But
that.
since earlier it said something about flesh pots. Yes, so the flesh here. Yes, they were eating flesh in Egypt, and I don't know which flesh they were eating either.
Okay, all right. That it would be interesting to find out what flesh they were eating in Egypt. But the thing is that it was promised to them. That is the grumble, and this is the solution that Moshe didn't take upon himself. The Creator communicated that to him, and as he usually says, and in the morning. Do we realize that everything that is promised by the following morning? It's always in the morning this, in the morning that, in the morning that. Right. So I'm seeing that in it as well. And I know of a fact that I can survive without meat, but I cannot survive without bread. Bread in the general context really mean carbohydrates, right? Food. Am I right with that? We're not talking about any special brand bread here. Bread is food. So we need bread every day. The body needs bread every day. Human beings need bread. I believe meat is optional. Correct me if I'm wrong. And especially in today where all the meat is really industrially processed and injected with hormones and so on. We do not know why people just getting on big and extra fat. They blame chicken pill on the curvature of some persons, right? Because there's more than we know going into this meat that is being consumed, right? So not in all cases though.
That is being consumed. Even the bread that we eat today if you notice everything in the supermarket, you see enriched rice, enriched flour. Enriched with what?
Yeah.
Added vitamins, added this. Are we sure that those things are supposed to be? Why is vitamin C rice?
Yeah.
Why is ascorbic acid is in some other? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These added stuff are what is making us and everything that is manufactured. That's what is making us sick because they're putting stuff in it.
And
that's not natural.
Not at all. It's fake. And all the colored juices are 100% vitamin C, because you make some juice and you chose half teaspoon of vitamin C in it, and all of a sudden that makes it 100% vitamin C. Because what that really means is misleading. They're actually saying that all of it is mixed with vitamin C. They're not saying all of it is vitamin C, but we read and say, oh wow, 100% juice. It's not so. We're tricked. Right, but yeah, back to this. They're promised these things in the mornings, and Moshe is saying, no, don't grumble against us. What are we? And that shows their humility, right? And we're seeing verse 9, it says, tell them to come near, draw near. But isn't the Creator omnipresent everywhere? When Moshe is saying to them, come near to the Creator, if he is invisible, what is that really saying? Is it the pillar of cloud he was calling them to, or near to where he was standing? Where is the Creator? If the Creator is not man and he is divine. If somebody said draw near, I'd ask draw near to what? Come near? I say come near to what? That's my simple thinking on it. Right, so before you know, we see verse 12 that we had stopped. It says that I've heard the grumblings, that's a respond, and tell them you are to eat meat. Wow. So let me not hear from onward now anybody telling us that eating is wrong, when here we see, I don't know if yes, this is actually a commandment. You are to eat meat. So I want to have the response of the vegetarians out there now that say it is a sin to eat meat, when we have a commandment here to say that you are to eat meat in the evenings, and in the morning you are to eat bread.
It's not a commandment, brother. It says, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at evening ye shall eat flesh, because they were asking for it. Okay. So that's why they got it. It's not a command that they should eat it.
Mm-hmm. So a commandment is what? Distinguish between a saying of the Creator and a commandment. What makes a commandment a commandment? Is it the 10, only those in the 10 commandments, or
no,
what comes from the word of the Creator, mouth of the Creator? Is that your question?
The 10 is not the only commandment, but what I'm saying right here in response to what you're saying, it says, in the morning ye shall eat flesh. Simply meaning that you are going to get what you ask for, because it's flesh you want. It doesn't mean I'm commanding you to eat flesh in the morning. That's not what it is saying.
Okay, good. So we get it. It's not a commandment to eat flesh. It was a specific situation that was mentioned, right? Just for that particular situation and in response to a particular question. Is that what you're saying, sister?
Yeah, I'm saying that well, further on in the word, I'm just responding to what is right here.
Mm-hmm.
That this right here is not a command to eat.
It's not a commandment.
That's not what it is saying.
That means I was wrong, because I was sharing this
idea. They were already eating flesh in Egypt.
Oh, right. So it's there. Okay.
And remember when he told them the sacrifice, and remember, they had the Passover. Isn't that flesh?
The Passover. Yes, that's flesh too. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Right. But they were asking for different flesh to eat. And that's what they were asking for in Moses.
they were eating possibly the animals that they came out with would not have been able to sustain them for a long time, right? And what they were eating in the wilderness, they probably didn't have so much for all of them. You know, so they demanded flesh. They said they were in Egypt and they were eating flesh. They missed the flesh pot because they had meat in abundance there. So the murmurings of the children of Israel got to the Creator, and the Most High said, okay, in the morning I shall give them flesh to eat, if that's what they want.
Yeah. All right.
Sometimes it's not everything we ask for is good for us, you know, but you see, the Most High will allow us to see that it is not good too. When we ask for some things, we actually get it, and we see that it wasn't good for us.
Exactly. Right. And there's one thing we sure know about this section is that the Creator will provide for us completely. Everything that we need, not want, everything that we need, He will provide for us. And whether it's bread or meat we want, we are to depend on Him for both, right? And in terms of the practice, we have to just continue to study this more to see exactly if there's anything that is mentioned, it is actually saying to us.
I want to add something else, because you mentioned we were just talking about the additives that we were putting in the food. What if the flesh pots in Egypt had made them ill and they had illnesses? We don't know. So the Most High was trying to purge them here by giving them stuff in the wilderness to eat that was naturally off trees, that was not manufactured or produced anywhere or processed, so they would be cleansed. You understand?
Yes.
Maybe that was the situation here.
Could be. Right. So they just want to go back to their old ways. Right. And unfortunately, sometimes we're allowed to do that to learn a lesson, an expensive one. All right. Verses 14 through to 21. And the layer of the dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost on the ground. And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, it is the bread which the Creator has given you to eat. This is the word which the Creator has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, an omer for each being, according to the number of beings. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, and some less. And they measured it by omers, and he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. And Moshe said, let no one leave of it until morning. And they did not listen to Moshe. So some of them left part of it until morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. Okay, so in this section we saw the manna appearing. Also, we saw the quails. What is a quail, though? And this is so these are actually food from heaven. What is it? So that was the first name that I gave to the food that came. Verse 15 says, and they said to each other, they saw the food come, the small round substance as fine as frost on the ground, and they asked, what is it? I myself, first time I read it, I was wondering, what is that? And are quails around today? I'm just curious.
Yes, lots of quails. People who don't want to eat chicken, they're eating quails.
Okay, what do they look like? You have a picture of it, could send me or something?
It's a small bird. They sell it, even in Florida and some places in Connecticut, because I have a lot of friends who eat quail because they don't want to eat chicken. The quails are still around. You can get it in Jamaica too.
Okay.
To purchase.
Okay. Well, I was doing a search and it said that quails are fatty meat. Fatty. They are meaty birds. Are birds with a lot of flesh on them. So interesting that
we don't know that the quails we get into there are the quails were spoken of in the Bible. We don't know anything. Not even the lamb that we get into today. We don't even know if it's the lamb spoken about in the Bible.
Okay, well, I mean, at that time when people hungry still, I don't even think there was no question. I know what you're saying in terms of no, but in terms of how the story is set, you can just imagine food coming down, like in something like a coffin box and well ready, prepared for you. And Moshe saying, this is food actually been given to you to eat. It is bread which has been given to you to eat, right? And the size of it, it says that each man take according to his need an omer. Omer is basically just a volume of measure. There might not be a fixed kilogram or pound weight that aligns with it, but it's approximately one writer said that it's approximately 3.5 pounds. So if everybody get 3.5 pounds as something to eat, or bread, that's a lot of bread, So I just can't understand why you're gonna have people taking more. I can understand less, but I guess we'll always have the more or less persons around us when it comes to sharing. And those people who took extra, it worked down to what they really wanted, satisfaction. And those who took, well, that's what verse 18 suggests. Those who took less than what they would normally, it seems as if it was satisfying to them. So that in itself is another miracle. I've never had that experience though, where, well, I've had a time when I'm very hungry and my mother shared a little bit of food, and I felt like I could have asked her to put some more in it, and I didn't. But when I ate it, I actually was satisfied. I was saying in my mind, it's a good thing I never asked her to share some more. So by the time the food reached my brain or wherever it must reach, I realized that the right amount was shared. Even though at first I felt like I would want to frown because it was little. Right. And sometimes I think she shared too much food for me. And I, felt like asking her to put back some. But when I started eating, I realized, oh, it's a good thing I didn't. I eat it off. All right. That's me and being a foodie. Right. Yeah. So that is satisfaction for the people. And we have any questions about this? Does the equal portion teach us anything, the more or less? Does it teach us anything about the Creator? When reading it, I think that the Creator provides exactly what each person needs, regardless of how much effort they put into it. All right, and we must learn to be content with what we get. I think sometimes the things we fuss and grumble about, it's not worth the energy and the stress that we put in to do that. So let us be grateful at all times. Any orders among us? And anybody proud to say that they are order? Right. We have in this story a person hoarding up food. And so in other words, those who hoarding up the food, I think they failed the test, because the test was that don't take more than you need. Right? And the ones who took more than they need, it actually got smelly on them, because that's not what was instructed. People must learn to follow simple instruction. I don't know why is it that, well, I know why. People are just adventurous. Right. So after that, now I'm in verse 19. I'm seeing where they are told to. The instruction is clear. No one leave any until morning, and they didn't listen. Right. So we're gonna always have people like that, not listening. But here we see another morning gathering, verse 21, and they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. When the sun became hot, it melted. This segue into the manna story. I'm wondering if it still relates to what happened after the 15th? Or do we park what happened in verse 1 and say it's unrelated and this is just a different part of the story? Does it relate? Because I still, we still would have to have to say what is the link between deliverance from Egypt and manna. What does manna have to do with the 15th day of the month? Something like that. Welcome, my sister. So the Creator, He provide exactly what each person need, right? We already looked at that. So we're going to read from verses 22 to 30. And remember what I said in verse 1? He started by dating the chapter at the 15th of the first month. Now we're going to get something in verses 22 to 30, and we're looking at it to tell if it's continuing from that 15th or it's a total next month we're in. All right, so let's read it together now, 22 to 30. And it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, that is what the Creator has said, tomorrow is a rest, a Sabbath set apart to the Creator. That which you bake, bake, and that which you cook, cook, and lay up for yourselves all that is left over, to keep it until morning. And they laid it up until morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. Gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, there is none. And it came to be that the sum of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. Verse 28. And the Creator said to Moshe, how long shall you refuse to guard my commands and my Torah? See, because the Creator has given you the Sabbath, therefore he is giving you bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Let each one stay in his place. Do not let anyone go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the big question is this the 7th day Sabbath? And do we conclude that every time we see the word Sabbath in Torah, it is referring to the 7th day? Because we're conscious of the 7 days for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're also conscious of the 7 days for the Feast of Sukkot. So both of them have a 7th day in them. Now, I had started out with those three, whether it's the 7th day Sabbath or the 7th day of unleavened bread. But I'm even adding Sukkot in it to confuse the whole thing a little more. How do we know which Sabbath it's referring to? I'd like to put up my handbrake here to hear your comments.
Since 16 verse 1 said it was the second month, the 15th day of the second month.
Yeah.
So that means that the first month, the Passover would have already ended, and they were gone into the second month. So it could not have been a Feast of Unleavened Bread.
So it's the second.
Unless they were on a journey and it was the second month. Remember, there was a thing about the commandment for Passover. If you miss the Passover, then you do it the next month. Did they get that command then? No.
They did not miss the Passover. Every one of them kept it and came out of Egypt the first month.
Exactly.
So it says here on the 16th, chapter 16, and they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of Israel, children of Israel, came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month. That's when they got there after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And then they start to murmur.
But that 6 days, sister, was it in the second month or the third month?
It's the second month that they are in here. And so it went on to say, and it came to pass. It shall come to pass on the on verse 5. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day, it couldn't be after the 15th day, there's a 6th day.
Right. So that would now be the third month that they're
15.
in. Can we validate it?
don't know if it's the third month, because I think in another chapter it mentioned the third month.
It would have to be the third
But
month.
would have to look.
Right. So there's no suggestion of the third one, but one thing is sure, there can be 6 days counted after the 15th day, and we all agree on that.
Yes, but they wouldn't mention. They
So-
would mention it 6 days.
So if I say we're going to have this, having passed the 15th day, I say, you know, manna is going to come, right, for 7 days. But on the 6th day, this is what I want you to do. Where do we insert that we are in a new month? And we're talking about the 7th day, so the 7th day of the new month. And how can we say it is impossible to count 6 days after, to count a 6th day after day 15?
Unless there is which feast day does come after the Passover?
It's nowhere there. It's
Weeks. Feast of Weeks.
Shavuot, right, is some 50 days later, approximately, right? So it's not there. And
I just wanted to
Exactly.
answer that though, brother. Where did it say? It didn't say that I'm giving you manna for 7 days. So that they'll get manna every day. It didn't say for 7 days.
right, it's not saying the 7th, but it's saying this the 6th day. But the 6th day, our discussion is centered around the 6th day from what? From the 15th or from the 1st? And if it's from the 1st, which one of the first is it that the story is continuing in a reverse chronological order, or has gone to the 3rd month?
I think it's the 3rd month because he spoke about the Sabbath. It went on.
But
to
remember, the
speak
word
about
Sabbath
the 7th
does
day.
not mean the 7th day. Remember that? We all know that there's a Sabbath in Sukkot and there's a Sabbath in Pesach.
Right, but this one said on the 7th day is the Sabbath. Didn't it say that?
And this would be a problem for those persons who keep the lunar Shabbat, because lunar Shabbat is like on the 1st day, the 8th day, the 15th day, and the 22nd day. So this 7th day would be what? Would be which day if we're adding it to the 15th?
I think it would fall on the 22nd.
15 and 6 is what? 21.
Yeah, it would fall on day 22.
And it would fall on the 22nd. This is what the lunar Shabbat people use.
That's right.
Right? That is 15, 22nd, and 29.
This is the exact scripture they used to justify it, actually.
Okay. All right. So in other words, this is in full alignment to lunar Shabbat keeping, having 4 Shabbats in one month.
I am not seeing that, because if it says on the 15th day, you're still counting. If lunar is based off the month, it cannot be based off the week. Why would there be 15? And you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are ordinal numbers here. And it's not a specific feast where you could say on the 8th day of the feast or the 1st day of the feast. It is talking about lunar. It is talking about the Sabbath day, the rest day from Genesis. That rest day.
Okay.
This is what he's teaching them about, the rest day that is in Genesis.
Right. And do we notice that the 6th day is different from all the other days? That is the one that is highlighted.
It is preparation day.
Right. And verse 23
and
says,
the manna fell twice as much. They can gather that twice as much. The instruction is clear.
Right. And if it's a Shabbat on the seventh day, do we realize that the Shabbat does not start the evening or the night? Do we see where it those people debating when does a Sabbath start? Verse 23 actually tells you when the Sabbath
In the
starts.
morning.
Tomorrow. So Sabbath can't start this
Yes,
evening and it can't start tonight. So that kind of culture and
not at all.
tradition is incorrect. All right. So if there's nothing we get from this, we're sure that a Sabbath does not start in evening and it does not start
Exactly.
in night.
Because the instructions is clear. If you gather it in the evening, make sure none of it is left until the morning, right? Because it will breed worms. They gather it every morning. There is enough for them to gather every morning. But on the Sabbath day, nobody should go out to gather any.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And that's clear enough instruction. But we see where the Creator said to Moshe, how long shall they refuse to guard my commands and my Torah? What was the infringement?
Brother, that is saying that they got some time enough to actually follow this.
And they're not following it. And he's getting impatient with them.
Exactly. So it seems like time elapsed here.
How long shall they refuse to guard my commandments and my Torah? Right. Well, it's a question I just asked my group here that I study with. How long shall we refuse to guard the Creator's commandments and Torah? What's the answer? How long? 5 days, 10 days? Lifetime?
Forever. Non generations.
How long do we refuse to guard his teachings? And remember, guarding his teaching is accepting that it is correct, committing to do it, right? Hearing, accepting, and doing it. That is what guard is. And that is what Israel, and teaching the children, yeah, which is important. We often forget that part, a critical part sometimes. I also see in 29 that Shabbat should be kept in the home. Are we seeing that? Which verse is saying that the Shabbat must not be you travel to convene with anyone? If this is the 7-day Shabbat we're referring to. Let each one stay in his place. So at what point throughout history people start keeping congregational Shabbat and Shabbat in the church and Shabbat all over the places, traveling to have a Shabbat service?
Well, the children of Israel couldn't use this as the example to say that everybody should stay in their home, because the temple was not built, right? So when the temple was built, there is a law now that states that the Shabbat is to be kept at the temple because that's where the Most High is supposed to put his name. And there are things that are to be done on the Sabbath day. But here, they are in the wilderness. So it's something a little different.
Okay. Well, so we have some people...
And staying in place means that you shouldn't go and do anything. Stay in place, stay in your home and just rest.
Yeah. Okay. Rest. That's a power word, rest. Well, some persons did not listen, because I think there was one story in Numbers we'll read where a man decided to leave his house and go outside to gather some sticks on the Shabbat. Right? So we always find things to do, and there are always distractions for us to shift our focus from the Creator. I think it was in verse 20, it mentioned about some of the men that didn't pay attention, and in every situation, in every group and every setting, there's always two men, or at least two persons, not men, at least two persons who are not following the instructions, and this can also impact the others and cause, wide disobedience. Let's read the last section from verses 31 through to 36. And the house of Israel called its name Manna, and it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like thin cakes made with honey. Moshe said, "This is the word which the Creator has commanded. Fill an omer with it to keep for your generations, so that they see the bread which I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Mizraim." And Moshe said to Aaron, "This is the word which the Creator has commanded. Fill an omer with it to keep for you your generation, so that they see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Mizraim." Okay, verse 33. And Moshe said to Aaron, "Take a pot and put an omer of manna in it and set it down before the Creator to keep for your generations. As the Creator commanded Moshe, so did Aharon set it down before the witness to keep. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. And an omer is 1/10 of an ephah." That part does look like you just add on to it. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. But it brings clarity, because I was researching what an omer is, but I realized now I've researched what is an ephah. Anybody knows what's an ephah?
The cow, the red heifer.
No, ephah as in EPHAH.
Oh, that one.
1/10. Well,
That's a
maybe
measure.
it's the side of 1/10 of a cow. Yes. Can you imagine everybody eating 1/10 of a cow? Everybody would be nice. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's far less than eating half of a cow, so. Right. So there we have a recipe to try for all the bakers and the chefs and the cooks among us. And let me read this now. "Thou shalt preserve a piece to be shared with a righteous brother in the day of his visitation." And this is from my book that I'm reading. Nobody else has it. It is coming from the book of Aaron, chapter 19, verse 5. So I'm going to give you the recipe now that you have to break for your brother. You have your pens and your paper, take it out, write it down. Coriander with fine flour. That's it. You got that? Then you're going to write down fried in date honey.
Brother, I can't find a pen right now on paper. Is it possible if we just send it in the group?
Right. All right,
Maybe
nice.
screenshot or something?
Nice, because I really want you to bake it for your brother.
I'm texting it now.
Right. 1 measure of each to half cup water, and make it in a round shape. And whenever he comes, when in the date of his visitation to you, you preserve a piece to share with him. All right. That's it.
1 measure of each in half cup.
All right.
Of water.
Yes, so coriander with fine flour. And you're gonna fry it in some date honey for me. Not bees honey, no, date honey. Half cup of water, and make it in a round shape. All right. It's worth trying, because we see that these ingredients, as in verse 31, were a part of what the manna tasted like. Make it thin as well. I don't like when it's too thick, So we have a baking exercise, and what I don't get though is that it is to be.
It sounds like a waffle.
Yeah.
Because I have coriander seed.
Yeah, you have that.
Waffle.
And you have honey too, right? You have honey.
Yes, I do.
Right, and you have flour too, don't you? Have fine flour, right? If you don't have any fine, no, don't give me the bleached out one. Make it blended oats and sieved in a strainer or something. Yeah, something like that. I can't wait to taste it. But there's a part that says that this is to be brought, this is to be preserved for a long time. But I wonder if this is really realistic. Fill an omer with it to keep for your generations. As far as I know, isn't John going to grow on this bread? This what is it?
this is laid up in the ark.
32.
So we know that this not going to spoil.
But remember now, the ark
This
wasn't
one
made
is-
at this point, you know.
Yes, so that's why Moses is keeping it. This one is special. It's not gonna spoil. The Moses is gonna preserve it. Just
So-
like he did on the Sabbath day, it is preserved and it never stank or spoil. He's able to make sure that this one lasts for all the generations to come.
So it's like a wedding cake that you can keep 10 years later, or is more
I don't
preserved.
think they would be eating it. I think they would just probably look at it.
Well, I'll want to taste my piece, please. It will be tempting though to see something of such symbolism and don't wonder what it will taste like. Right. So verse 35 actually tells us that it was to be ate for 40 years until they came into that land. Can you just imagine how they wait to come into that land to stop eating manna? I wonder if this manna was that nice and engaging that can somebody really eat something for 40 years and or this is with other things like fruits that they might stumble upon.
Brothers, they think they're eating other things more than 40 years all their lives. So nothing is wrong with eating manna, and I think they could do so many things with it.
Oh,
You know?
well, that's true. It's possible because I saw this testimonial of a man celebrating 50 years with his wife, and the journalist asked him, "How do you manage just only one for 50 years?" Right? And they both say that they enjoy themselves for the 50 years together. So 40 years is nothing compared to that. Right. So it's something that for a lifetime. And maybe each time they ate it, they maybe imagined. I don't know which chapter we find, but I think we're going to reach to it where they're going to say, "Oh, they wished it was the garlics and the onions and the nice seasonings of Israel of that they had in Mizraim." I think it is there, you know. I don't think I'm imagining it, that you're gonna find them complaining about having the same thing over and over. You know, and put ourselves in a position. I'm always asked this question: do you want to eat chicken every day? Right. So nobody wants to eat chicken every day.
No, you cannot say that, brother. People are eating chicken every day.
Yeah?
Even 3 times per day.
Oh my, sorry. I don't know why I think that. I really not in sync with what's going on in the world, then, man.
People are eating chicken 3
Chicken
times per day.
3 times a day. How many times a week? Well,
That is it. Until men are having breast and boobs, big boobs.
oh yeah. Well, so they're giving
Yes,
their spouse competition.
Curry chicken,
Well.
fried chicken,
Breast
KFC
cancer
selling.
too as a
People
result.
eating a lot of chicken, brother.
Well, I saw the other
So
day.
much chicken. So
Well,
much.
the lady I saw in Georgetown the other day, I'm sure she's eating the chicken that gets chicken pill. Right? But that's for another setting. Right? But what all of this really means to us, though, preserving manna, giving them a recipe, right? And ensuring that they are well fed. You know, I think this is how you care for your children by providing food for them and keeping them safe.
Can you imagine they were in the wilderness? They probably didn't have, they have the manna, but remember that they were getting quail as well, you know.
Oh yes,
And the
so
other, among other things.
that
They
has
had
variety,
quail
man.
too. So
That
it's not just manna only.
sounds better now because 40 years. When I look at 40 years, that's my life. That's like my lifetime, you know. But yet we see a generation sustained by heavenly bread, and there's a philosophical thought that I want to share. Do we prefer to have heavenly food or earthly food? And I mean, some persons,
Both. They had both.
well,
They had manna for breakfast and quail for dinner.
yeah, and I'm talking in today's world. How do you look at your food? Is Is your food that you have, is your food heavenly food or earthly food? And let me explain the difference between both. Earthly food is where I'm saying to myself, this is what I have for today, and this is what I plan to have for tomorrow and continue to have. Heavenly food is like saying, the Creator will provide for me despite what I plan to provide for myself. So which one of the food we're gonna proceed with? We see where Israel proceeded with manna, earthly food, and it ran out on them. And we see where they got heavenly food and later. So which are the food that we're gonna be going with? And can we go through with both, or we have to choose one?
Where in the scripture is reference to heavenly food again? I never thought of it.
Okay, well, you never heard about the bread of heaven, my sister?
The bread of heaven?
All right.
In the scripture?
Well, no. Well, let me just bring it to the point. I think it's early in there's a verse that said that the food came down, man. That's what I'm calling heavenly food. Food that rained. I think verse 4, right. See, I'm raining down, raining bread from the heavens for you. So that's what I call heavenly bread. So for once I thought I was making up something. Right.
But remember that when manna was raining down, they were not yet in a position to eat the food from the earth because they were not where the food was being produced by the earth. They were in transit. So after they were settled in the land, then they began to eat earthly food. So the earth is from man. I would say I look to earthly food because everything was placed in the earth for us to partake of. All the food is supposed to heal our bodies and all of these things. So for us today, I don't know what they are, there being heavenly food for us, so to speak. Is there even what's for us today? What would that be?
Okay. Well, it's just a real mindset, It's either you're going to try and make plans for yourself to suffice for yourself for the next 30 years of food, or you're going to say, I'm living by trusting the Creator. I'll continue to work to be able to afford things, but I'm leaving my provision in his hands, or I'm trusting that I'm allowing him to be my ultimate provider, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna work with heavenly food. You work with the earthly one. When yours finished, you can come to me. I'll share some of mine with you.
Brother Asa, I think you're asking us to choose, but the Most High didn't ask us to choose, In the wilderness, the little food that the people brought out from Egypt, nothing would have been there for them to eat except maybe some wild stuff that is growing there, right? Wild fruits and trees, maybe wild coconuts and stuff like that. That how long they kept moving, so it's not like they were stationary. They kept moving. So therefore, maybe they're going to a section where there may not have been anything for them to eat. So the Most High provided food until they reached the borders of Canaan. With the borders of Canaan, it means that there is no food in the land that they're going into, so there's no more need for them to eat heavenly food. It was only for a particular time.
Okay.
So it's not like we have a choice. Like the sister said, the food is provided for us on the earth already. Everything that the Most High made, in Genesis 1, He said it is good and perfect. So the earth was already, if we have everything we need on the earth.
Everything, my sister. You sure about that? Everything?
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
I was saying, you sure about that? Everything? You mean as in everything?
Most High provided everything for us on earth.
Oh, I thought
He
you
has
said
made
everything
this
is
earth
food.
perfect and provided everything for us.
Okay, I get you. He is the ultimate provider, and I think that's a good point for us to close on this evening. The Creator, he turned their grumbling into provision with quail and manna, and it teaches me to trust Him daily, right? And to follow his simple rules that He has set, and also to make provision for the Shabbat whenever it comes, whichever day it falls on, and that Shabbat actually starts the day and not in the evening or in the night, right? And we must preserve, this story, this message, so that others may learn from it. That Creator, we were in situations where we lacked, did not have enough. We tried to provide for ourselves and it used up, and then He actually came in and sustained us throughout our bad patch, our wilderness experience. So that's it, basically. I'm reading from the chapter. Any other thoughts? All right. Well, thanks all.
On point of correction, brother. It's
Yes,
not
I need it.
whichever day it falls on. It's their days falling on. Their days are circulating in the Most High calendar. It's not the other way around.
Whichever day the Most High's Shabbat fall on.
To determine the Most High's calendar, and which we need to throw it out.
Right. Well, yeah. I don't have a calendar in my house. To start with. To the extreme, I don't even have a watch. So I even hope to one day to be able to check my time by just the sunlight and just the events, right? Because I know that whatever they have provided us is to fulfill their agenda and for their programming and time. And while we interact with them, it may become necessary at that point. But as we interact, we don't need to really refer to man's timing, because the Creator's timing is already established and is more pointing. Right. So thank you for that.
Why they had to come out of Egypt? Because they had to leave that calendar back there. You understand?
Well,
and that's the reason why the first thing the Creator said to them, this month shall be the beginning of month. That means whatever you learn in Egypt, throw that away.
Well, I tell you,
this is where the year.
Yeah, that's true. I tell you, a surprise. All the religions right now, I think all of them, when it comes to their sacred holidays, it is based on the current Egyptian or Islam or Muslim calendar. They all start the month the same day, a day before or a day after, which is not really a big difference. And so that's one of the reasons why I've sought to ensure that in my interpreting of what the lunar calendar is, it cannot be anything similar to what the Ish people or the Muslims use today to start their month. I may get everything else wrong, but that's one thing sure. I will not be copying. My month won't start with what they start their month with, because the Creators deliberately pointed Moshe to what was to be used, and it was definitely to be different from what they used. So that's my pointer. Right. Yeah. On another note, and I've gotten the songs from persons that have asked to give me their song for me to arrange for them. Right. I still want to make music for the people of the Creator. So if we were to choose a chorus from this chapter today, what would be the operative subject? Would it be the manna, or would it be something, or would it be the quail? Right. The central theme in this chapter would have been what? The provision, the manna, the quail. What would it be? Right. So I'm trying to figure that out, and as soon as I figure it out, I'll share it in song with you all. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.